Welcome, members of the public and fellow task force member, to today's Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force Business Readiness Working Group. This is our final meeting today, meeting 12 here on Friday, May 15th. As we always do at the outset of our Business Readiness Working Group meetings, we'll take a moment and review the agenda today to set working group members' expectations. Here in just a few moments, our Madam Chairwoman will call the roll, and then we will have a period of public comment to entertain any comments that have come into our Business Readiness Working Group. Then, of course, we will seek approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. And today, in our presentation portion of today's meeting, we will be hearing from Pam Neighbors, who, a fellow working group member, is President and CEO of Career Source of Central Florida. And we also have Stina DeVay on the call today, who's the president of the West Orange County Chamber. And we will try to give Stina a moment to say a few words as well. And then finally, we've got open discussion today that will be led by our Madam Chairwoman, Deborah Linden, on the final recommendations of our working group. And we look forward to that open discussion by the Madam Chair. And with that, we will move directly into roll call. Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to take a roll call. Please unmute as necessary. Conrad Santiago, the Santiago Group.
Here.
Mary Rodriguez, Don Julio's Mexican Kitchen.
Here, good morning.
Florencio with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Outstanding. How's that baby boy?
Doing good.
Excellent. Jerry Ross, National Entrepreneur Center.
Here.
John Newstreet, Kissimmee Osceola County Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, present.
Good morning, John. We have your counterpart, Stina Duva, with us today. Mary Chow, MC Spa and Nail Spa.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Mike Vandelabille, Mosaic Hair Studio.
Present.
Monicia Brown, Walmart. Is Monicia with us? Okay, Pamela Neighbors, Career Source.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Chris Earl, United Safety Council.
Good Friday morning, present.
Good Friday morning. Johnny Rivers Grill and Market. Johnny Rivers. Okay, Pastor Roderick Zach, Rejoice in the Lord Ministries and African American Council for Christian Clergy. Pastor Zach with us. Stacy Papp, Bay Hill Jewelers. Okay, and one of our newer members, Nadine Tarpley, Oh So Jazzy Hair Salon. Nadine, are you with us? Oh, okay. Since this is our last meeting, I do want to just take a moment and thank the working group so very much for your hard work and dedication. You know, this task force was created 4 weeks ago today. We've had 12 meetings, as Doug just mentioned. I think we've had 5 full task force meetings to this point, a couple more to go. But there's been a lot that has happened in these last 4 weeks. Certainly in the last 2 weeks, many of you have had to open up businesses, and we certainly appreciate the time that you've taken for working group. A group of you also really stepped up in your industry on behalf of the community. Certainly, and Mike and Mary in participating and really helping to lead that charge for the salon industry. So, and we even had a baby born. So a lot has happened in economic partnership staff on the call with us today. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn this back over to you. Mr. Chairman, are you with us? Oh, did we lose Doug?
No, he's unmuted now. He's unmuted.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
there
you.
we go.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The next item on our agenda is public comment. In an effort to comply with the CDC social distancing guidelines and for the safety of residents and task force members, the Business Readiness Working Group will conduct meetings virtually. Orange County remains committed to providing an alternative platform for residents to have the opportunity to submit their public comment. I will ask Orange County staff to read the public comments we received online and add it to the public record. Please note public comments received that do not include the required information will not be read. Comments that extend beyond the set time limit will not be read in their entirety. However, the resident's entire comment will be entered into the public record. Please note that the time allocated to each individual for public comment via online submission may be reduced from the normal 3 minutes based on the number of speakers. Lucas, sir, do we have any public comment today for the Business Readiness Working Group?
No, sir, no public comment for this specific working group at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. The minutes have been distributed to the members for review. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, Jerry Ross.
Thank you, Conrad. A motion being properly made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Please show the minutes carrying unanimously.
Doug, just want to let you aware that Johnny Rivers has joined us.
And
Want to
Stacey
acknowledge
Papp.
him. And Stacey Papp has joined.
Thank you, Lucas and Andrea. Johnny Rivers and Stacey Papp they were in the meeting. Thank you very much, and we acknowledge their presence. Our speaker today, first up, we've got one of our very own working group members, Pam Rivers, who is the president and CEO of Career Source Central Florida. And let me just say that in some of the nonprofit work that I do in the community, that I've had the great privilege of through the nonprofit, seeing the unbelievable work that Pam does and how hard she works and how dedicated she is. And we look forward to hearing from you today, Pam. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that introduction. I am very honored to be able to present a little bit of sort of the other side of the story this morning in terms of what's happening with the workforce and how Career Source Central Florida is responding and will continue to respond in the next few weeks and months. So overall, Career Source Central Florida, for those of you who don't know, although I know most of you and have many friends on this call, is the Regional Workforce Development Board for Central Florida. We represent the 5 counties that surround the city of Orlando, and it's actually the second largest workforce labor market in the state, second only to Miami. And we annually provide a lot of resources, talent solutions for both businesses and for individuals who are looking for a new job, a better job, or a next opportunity, many solutions to ignite potential out there. And we do that in a number of ways. We have actual career centers throughout our 5 counties. We have 5 career centers and a contact center that's housed in our downtown office. And as you can imagine, we have been extraordinarily busy virtually for the most part since about March 16th. And I just want to give you some initial numbers about what kind of service volume we're seeing and some of the things that we're doing and pivoting to, quite frankly, to be able to address the need of many workers who have been furloughed and laid off during this pandemic, and how we're positioning to also reopen some of our locations come June in a new or next normal way to delivering services. We expect that we will continue to be very busy in delivering services to affected workers, as well as to businesses who are continuing to hire for the essential jobs that we've talked about, as well as most likely some new industries as we move into the summer months in responding to the coronavirus and COVID-19. So if you would go to the next slide, this is actually a snapshot back from April 4th on what it looked like in Central Florida initially, with claimants that had responded and had been fortunate enough to respond to the Department of Economic Opportunity. So Career Source Central Florida is actually a nonprofit 501c3 private nonprofit corporation. We have a board of directors that is a majority business led. And we are not the state, we are not Department of Economic Opportunity, but we are a key partner in helping them to at least get the first step in application, which can be distributing applications, supporting individuals to take applications through our contact center, and helping people in the job search process during the unemployment activity. And so back on April 4th, the state started to release the dashboards, and they have not updated this since April 4th. But initially, we were seeing in our 5-county region about 80,000 claimants who had filed for unemployment or reemployment, as it's called, assistance in this state. At that time, Orange County ranked number 3rd in the state for the number of claims filed, and Osceola had the highest percentage impact of individuals. The data, though, is lagging, and the state, while it is releasing statewide data, has not yet released the updated county data. We do expect, though, that based on the fact that this data was released prior to the theme park furloughs, that this data will grow by at least 100,000 claimants or more in the next month. And so, you know, in a normal month prior to COVID-19, our contact center, which is kind of our front door for all services for CareerSource across the 5 counties, would receive a total of just under 5,000 calls. And in the last couple months, that has actually quadrupled. We're seeing volumes of 16,000 to 18,000 calls a month that are directing individuals and businesses to services right now. So we expect that that volume is going to continue as recovery happens in a phased approach, as we've all been working on this task force, as well as the mayor's large task force. Can I have the next slide, please? Back one, thank you. So as of May 4th, CareerSource Central Florida had actually seen 31,000 plus new customers, which is a 98% increase in our overall customer traffic since February. We have been primarily focused in a virtual manner in connecting individuals who are looking for work to hiring businesses. And as you can expect, there are many businesses in the healthcare, logistics, call and customer care center support, manufacturing, IT and finance, and then some construction continuing as we have moved through the last couple months of this crisis. We actually have changed our website so that there's an immediate access to a coronavirus support page. And back at the beginning of the month had seen over 33,000 new visitors. And that dedicated support page links to many of the resources that here at the Business Readiness Group we have put in place, as well as many of the other resources available through the Orlando Economic Partnership and, of course, the Department of Economic Opportunity. We are continuing as well to take applications for our summer youth employment program. Prior to pandemic, we had anticipated being able to put 1,500 young people between the ages of 16 and 24 to work during the summer, and we're still looking to see if there is a way that we can continue to provide that service, perhaps virtually, as well as to industries that are essential and are needed. And we already have well over 1,500 applications for that program. We have actually continued to provide one-on-one appointments for individuals with our call center, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But also we have stood up many more now than 7 virtual workshops in a variety of topics for both individuals in the job seeking space as well as for businesses who are having to navigate this new arena of interviewing virtually, screening applicants virtually, and even hiring applicants virtually. So we're seeing a lot of interest in virtual services and understanding how to navigate this new world. And so we're continuing to find partnerships with Microsoft, for example, and also other consultants in our region who are familiar with virtual hiring and such for the business community. We've also put in place, with a partnership with Metrics Learning, a free service for individuals in our region that they can actually skill up Central Florida. It is an online catalog of over 5,000 virtual courses, everything from basic skills to Microsoft applications, project management, PRH certification in personnel or HR. And we've had a lot of, now I think over 350 individuals register for those courses. And it really is a great opportunity if people are waiting and trying to either identify whether they're going to go back to work in their existing organization, or if they're going to be looking for new opportunities to actually get some additional skills and credentials to put on their resume. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are trying to update resumes and LinkedIn profiles, but by and large, the majority of contact center calls have been fielding support to the DEO reemployment application process. And we're so thankful to Orange County because actually early on in March, we worked with Andrea and Eric Ushkowitz and the team there to basically supplement our contact center with 25 individuals from Orange County who normally work in convention center operations and actually are providing an expansion of our contact center and are primarily, through training with our staff, answering a lot of questions related to the reemployment application process. We also, on a small scale, can do some PIN reset for individuals who are looking to or having that challenge in being able to actually apply for unemployment. And we're supporting the department with paper applications, although I would say that we're honestly discouraging people from filing paper at this point because the Department of Economic Opportunity has actually created a much more mobile-friendly application site that allows people in a much simpler way to get that application filed. And so we are supporting individuals to do that. Perhaps if they don't have high-speed internet at their location, we can help them to get that application filed. And we will continue to support the department as is needed. We have a weekly call that gets updates from the Department of Economic Opportunity to identify how they're responding at the state level and on down through the regional level. Next slide, please. Businesses, though, as I mentioned, are also utilizing our services, and we've actually seen more than almost 60% increase in the number of new businesses in particular served in the last couple months. And many of those businesses are, again, navigating the virtual world in hiring individuals. And for the most part, we are listing jobs, screening candidates, referring individuals, and the by and large 75% of the businesses that we are serving have under 250 employees. So in 1 week alone, we had over 200 businesses. So there are hiring activities happening out there, and we're continuing to, with our staff of business consultants, reach out to the business public and work with our partners at the OEP, the National Entrepreneur Center, and many of the chambers to respond to those business and their hiring needs. Next slide. And so CareerSource Central Florida across the 5 counties, actually prior to COVID-19, we had approximately 250 staff that were either housed in the centers or at our partner locations or in our downtown facility. And so as we approached and prepared for what was happening in March, we actually turned our entire organization into a virtual service delivery in just the first 2 weeks of March. We have been continuing to provide services, as I mentioned, primarily through the front door of our contact center. You see the 800 number there in the center, or through direct appointment from our website and the many resources that we have launched through there. We also just this past week launched a podcast series, the first of which are very short, immediate resources for either job seekers or businesses of what to do if your job has been impacted during this crisis. And also we have been responding a lot to media inquiries, as you can imagine, regarding what people are doing, where they're finding jobs, and are very appreciative of the media that have been providing that information out to the general public. We also are in the midst of our own reopening plans, and I am very thankful that I have been a part of this business readiness task force, not just to contribute, but also to learn, because we have used many of the resources to get ready for our own reopening in the next month. And we will be reopening 3 of our career centers, our South Cimarron office, which is in the Airport Business Plaza on South Cimarron and Hoffner, and our Lake County office, as well as our Seminole office on Airport Road. We will be reopening, though, with a new plan, as many businesses we've talked and learned about here are doing. We will be taking appointments. We will have a modified schedule, and we will be putting in place all of the health and safety protocols that adhere to our Orange County recommendations, as well as the CDC guidelines. We have a center that's actually embedded in the Osceola Valencia College campus, and we'll be looking to open that center in concert with the college over the summer as they look to stand up some of the accelerated short-term skill training programs that I believe our population is going to really need. And then our West Career Center, our West Orange County Career Center office is actually moving to the West Oaks Mall in July. And so we're going to be looking for some itinerant locations to be able to have kind of pop-up career centers and activities, again, all with social distancing and health and safety protocols in place in the next couple of months. But, I am expecting quite a significant challenge as we go into reopening in June and July and August, because I do think that there will be many, many people who are going to seek out our services and have needs. And it's coming at a time when, in a normal year, we've actually seen our resources from the federal government decrease quite substantially because of the great economy we had prior to all of the pandemic. So we're going to be continuing to navigate through that and advocate with our state to support us in the resources that we'll need. So I think I will stop there because my last slide is just the 800 number and the website for everyone to be able to access if there are any immediate needs that the business community has here. And I'd be happy, Chairman, to take any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Please review. And we will from Stina Duvet and then go into a roundtable discussion.
Was I muted? Oh no! Were you able to hear me?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Stina Duvet is the president of the West Orange County Chamber. She has been able to join us in front of our working group today. We thank Stina for being here. Stina, would you like to say a few words from the perspective of the West Orange County Chamber? We know what a great job you do with that chamber.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, definitely like to say a few words. I appreciate speaking with you last week and Andrea providing an opportunity for us to share some service businesses with you and Bright Future participating, I think it was earlier this week. And I think I speak to Deb Linden at least once a day. We were thrilled when we saw that she was put on the entire task force and then heading this up with you for the business readiness. And of course, John Newstreet representing Chambers and being a West Orange resident. So from what I'm hearing, the businesses have been thrilled with the information coming out of the business readiness group, the entire task force, the providing the PPE through Westside Tech, West Campus of Orange Technical College has been extremely popular, and I know that many businesses have taken advantage of that wonderful provision by the county. And our businesses, through a survey that we just recently did, seem to be quite optimistic that as business continues to reopen, that they're going to survive this. And I think it's because of the good planning.
Thank you, Stina, very much for those remarks. And to your comment, yes, we thank you so much for the resources that you provided the working group. We did have some guest speakers on that were a direct result of your efforts as president of the West Orange County Chamber. And again, we know what great work you do in our community. You've also helped us push out the outputs of the working group, and you've committed to help us communicate that to underlying small and medium-sized businesses, as well as just generally getting that information out And without partners like you, certainly Orange County could not be as effective as they are. And I don't think this Business Readiness Working Group could be as effective as we think we've been. Thank you so very much for all of your efforts. And
could I just say another couple of words? We did schedule, actually, on May 26th, we have Deb Linden that will be doing a webinar for us. It's called Call, Listen, and Learn, to better answer questions from our members in regard to the efforts of the Recovery Task Force, as well as Betsy Vanderlei will join us to talk about some of the funding that's going to come out of the county for businesses and residents. And so, and our website has an entire page, as do all the chambers, I know. Every bit of information that we have, we're pushing out to the businesses so that we can make sure that they know what they need to do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope you're going to stay on the call. We're going to have a roundtable discussion, as we often do after our speakers have ended. And I would like to open it up at this time to any questions from our working group for either Stina DeVay, the president of the West Orange County Chamber, or Pam Neighbors, the president of CareerSource. And while we wait for some questions to come in, I'd like to start with a question, if I might, and then encourage everyone to weigh in for Pam. Pam, you talked, especially at the end, about anticipation in June, July, and August. I believe you commented of still high levels of calls coming in and services being provided. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how long you expect this almost quadrupling of calls to last? And if you've got any insight that you can share with us beyond what we read about your take on the employment or unemployment situation here in Orange County and across the state, that would be very helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that we're going to continue in June and July to see, a continued continued, maybe not increasing calls, but sustaining number of calls. So we have actually seen what happened in March is we had a big surge in calls when many, many businesses began to close very rapidly. And then in April, it dropped slightly, but still, again, by April, it was still 3 times the number of calls that we were seeing in any given normal month. And in May, it dropped by a couple thousand calls. So as the phases of reopening happen in June and July, I expect that, we will decrease slightly in calls, but I do know that many of the individuals who are coming to us and talking to us are from jobs at all levels, particularly related to our tourism and hospitality industry. And so as those industries recover, so will the individuals be able to go back to work. And so we know that recovery is not going to be as quick as shutdown was, for sure. And so it is going to be, we expect that we will continue to see many thousands of people who are being impacted or are on unemployment. So one of the things about the stimulus unemployment under the CARES Act is that the additional payment only goes through July. So when we get to July, then individuals who are on unemployment will be on the state's unemployment process. And currently the state unemployment is only 12 weeks. There is an additional number of weeks from the what's called pandemic unemployment. But and the state, of course, has improved dramatically its ability to get claims processed, but it's also dealing with an extraordinary backlog that happened during March and April. So I do anticipate that there's going to be increased and sustained traffic. The other thing that will probably happen is the governor did extend the job search order, which means people don't have to actually be in job search mode while they're collecting unemployment through the 30th of May. But I don't know that that will get extended beyond that. And then that actually means that for each week and every 2 weeks, individuals who are receiving any kind of unemployment have to actually now prove that they are looking for work. And in the career source system, typically we support people to do that both virtually and in person, going to be providing many resources and many services to both businesses and particularly to job seekers.
Thank you, Pam, very much. I see that we've got a couple of comments. I'd like to go to those comments. John Newstreet, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. Just a real quick comment to my peer, Stina Duva, for welcoming her and thanking her for her leadership. She's a leader in the chamber world and someone that I look to for guidance and follow her lead. And she's been a great advocate through this whole pandemic for her community, and we do work closely together. So welcome, Stina. Keep up the good work, and let me know how I can work with you to help all businesses that need it. Thanks.
Thank you, John, very much. And our next comment comes from Mike Van Dennebill. Mike?
A quick question. I know as a small business owner, and I'm actually hiring now, that one of my frustrations is, where do you post job openings, especially for entry-level positions? Can you give any guidance on that besides Craigslist and Indeed? How can businesses who are hiring utilize your services to post job openings?
So, Mike, definitely call me. That 800 number. We actually, what we do is there's a statewide program. It's called Employ Florida, and we post jobs there. It doesn't cost anything, but more importantly, we're actually going to source candidates for you. And as you can imagine, we have thousands of people who are looking for opportunities. And so what we do is we do all of that. We have a business consultant reach out to each small business that does want to post, and then we will screen applicants for you as much or as little as you want in terms of the job openings that you're looking to fill. So I know I posted that 1-800 number, and I always remember the 800 and the 757, but I never remember the last four. But maybe Andrea can pop that slide. It's the very last slide of my deck back up. And, definitely connect with our office. All the services, by the way, that I described are available at no cost to either the career seeker, job seekers, or the business community. I don't like to say free because a lot of the services are supported through public resources at the state and federal level, but they are available to you as a business at no cost.
Thank you, Pam, so much. Mike, did you have a follow-up?
Well, actually, I think that's fabulous, because I know if you've ever spoken to anyone in the small business world, hiring that is one of the biggest pitfalls and frustrations any small business has. And I actually did not know that those types of services that Pam offers was out there.
Well, this is, again, I'm very thankful to be able to be a part of this task force because it also provides me an opportunity to get this information out to you, Mike, as a small business owner. So it's 800-757-4598. And you just call and say, hey, I'm a business and I'm looking to hire, and they will connect you to one of our business consultants. And if you're interested in looking at what the resources are, it's right there on our website as well.
I've got a follow-up that, as an organization and a nonprofit at that is charged with providing resources so that people can re-engage economically, can find a new job, seek training opportunities to develop new job skills. How have you been able to have the resources, if you could comment on that, as you've experienced really a fourfold increase in demand? When our businesses are allowed to reopen, I can only hope we have a fourfold increase in demand, but nonetheless, it creates its own challenges. Can you talk to us about that, please?
Well, it is going to be a challenge moving into the next few months, because one of the things about our organization and its funding is that it is inversely related to the economy. And by that, I mean that in good times, as the economy in our regional economy that we're growing in manufacturing, in simulation and modeling, in construction in particular, we had a number of different programs that we were very focused on upskilling individuals and moving them towards a wage that would help to sustain them and their families. As we go into the next year, our next year, we already know that we will receive almost $1 million less in our resources that basically support our overall infrastructure. And that has happened actually now 3 years in a row. And the reason is because we as an economy here in Central Florida have been leading the country up until February with job growth. And so, we had been working to really ensure that our footprint was of a way that it was economic and we could push as many resources as possible to direct support either for staff that are providing counseling to business and career seekers or for training resources. As we look into the next year, we are going to continue to look at resources to meet this challenge. And there is actually in the stimulus bill that's now being proposed in the House that just came out, I believe it's called the HEROES bill. It's the third stimulus. There are resources in that bill specifically for the workforce development system across the country that would provide more opportunities for what we call paid internships or work experience to help businesses actually take on people and maybe they can't initially afford, but also help people get back to work and get some wages, on the job training, as well as very short-term targeted skills training for even for contact tracing, which has been a new kind of a job that's been talked about during this pandemic. So, we're going to be advocating definitely for that bill with our legislators as we move into the next few months.
Thank you, Pam, so much for that answer. Are there any other questions for Pam or for Stina?
There are.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes.
Chairman Taylor, Jerry Ross has a comment.
Thank you.
Well, I have a comment when we're done with the informational part and we're talking about the working group. So let me know when that's appropriate.
I have a comment.
Yes.
So yes, Jerry, we'll get to next steps in just a few minutes. I want to thank Pam very much. Boy, your service has never been more important than it is right now for this community, and appreciate you explaining all of that. I would guess there are many businesses that don't even know that Career Source does exist, as Mike had mentioned, and many may not have a need right now as they're just starting to open on a much smaller scale, but certainly as the businesses grow, there'll be a need over time. So I would suggest that we add Career Source as one of the question and answers in our FAQs. We're going to be getting into that in just a little while, but to make it very simple for businesses to know that there's this incredible resource for them as they're trying to rebuild and move their businesses forward. But it is a great service, and we certainly appreciate you explaining all of that to us. I want to make a comment also to Stina. Stina, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for your leadership in West Orange. You and I have had a lot of conversation about all of this, and certainly appreciate the insight and help that you've given to this group. Once we get into next steps and talk about the final product, we will want to lean on you and John to give us some insight or some input into how you can help us to distribute all of this information out into the community. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Are there any other questions? Doug, if you want to wrap up the panel discussion.
Madam Chair, I see one more comment. I'd like to call on John Newstreet.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Again, this relates to Jerry and the wrapping up of the task force. It's probably more of a question, but we're saying today is the last meeting, and I just, as we're in this meeting, got the survey, consumer confidence survey that Orange County's put out. And so I'm scrolling through it while listening and participating in this working group. But it begs the question, that we aren't officially into phase 2 yet, which is a very crucial stage. And while that we are business readiness, and many businesses are getting ready or ready as we get to this, I guess the question is, are we taking a hiatus and possibly coming back? Is this a firm, our work is done? Because we may get some information from this survey or I just don't know if the work is done. So I just wanted to kind of beg that question of you all.
I think a valid question. I think more the appropriate terminology would be a hiatus. We serve at the pleasure of Mayor Demings, of course, all of us. And we do have another task force meeting, as we all know, you included, next Thursday at 2 o'clock. But at least in my own mind, based on the guidance that we've gotten, I think a hiatus, we certainly want to wrap the work that we have done thus far and bring that to an end point. And then we'll wait for further direction from Mayor Demings and his team.
And I would just like to add that the information that we're gathering in this website, this will be a living document, if you will. They'll continue to update this. We're providing the basis for the job readiness for the various industries. And as we saw the need, we've continued to gather the information. Andrea has enlightened us to, the county does receive many inquiries, a lot of them, how do I open? Am I essential, enforcement, a lot of those type of questions. And I think we've tried to pull all the information we can without having to reinvent the wheel, and gathering from the various industries, of which certainly you and Stina have helped to contribute, as well as everybody else on this working group. So I'm hopeful that Andrea can give us a little bit of an update of the timing. We do hope to have this website completed. A lot of the information is out there, but it isn't all in one place, and we need to pull it all and make it easy. But the bottom line is it's got to be simple and easy to understand. There's so much information there, and I think the FAQs are going to be incredibly important. Mr. Chairman, do you want to get into this discussion now, or do we still have, are we still working on the panel?
Absolutely. Let's get into the discussion, Madam Chairwoman. We look forward to you leading us through it.
Okay, Andrea, I see you brought up the page here, the information. Do you want to give us an update as to what the timing is when you think they're going to be able to get this live? You certainly have quite a bit of information, and we can talk about maybe what else we want to add to it.
Yeah, sure. So I can't necessarily promise a very particular date, only because we have to work with a couple other departments on this, notably communications. So just bear with us as we get this up there. They have already been working on a part of this, as well as the layout for the webpage. So they have been working in real time. I think our goal is by, next Friday, so a week from now. But again, don't hold us to it just yet, only because of their timing. They could be before that, or it might be a couple days after that.
Well, the goal would certainly be next Thursday, so it could be presented at the task force meeting if at all possible.
Yep.
What about the FAQs? When do you think is that all part of the same timing, or might we get that a little sooner?
So I think we could get that done sooner. Again, that's just a conversation with communications today.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for the outstanding job that you've done in pulling all of this information together. It has been, and I did hear from Josh this morning, so he's sending me some information. He was our speaker a few days ago from Right Future, so he'll be sending that information. And if any of the working group members still have information that we've talked with you about providing for this, if you could try and get that to Andrea today, because this will be the, as Doug said, the final meeting. So let's enter into some discussion about the final end product. Jerry, did you want to make a comment about that?
We might need to unmute, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I think
Jerry Newspeed had a comment.
It looked like he just left a comment.
Sorry,
I know Chris has a question, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. It's actually for Andrea. Andrea, I have my presentation and the outlines that I gave during that presentation ready to send over to you. Do I email it directly to you?
Yeah, please. Just email it to me. I even had and I know I got your message on my office line. Sorry about that. I was actually teleworking yesterday, but I have a nice spot for you right here. It's waiting on you. So I will gladly take that information, please.
You'll see it as soon as we conclude here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Standing. Thanks, Chris. Other comments from working group members?
John Newstreet has a comment.
Okay, John.
Just wanted to now formally recognize the outstanding leadership that both co-chairs have brought to this group. As we are all community leaders, we know it takes strong leadership to get things done, and I'm very proud of the work product. And we committed time every day to get this done, but it still needed to be driven in the right direction and have the accountability. And so just hats off to both the co-chairs of this working group, as well as all the committee members that have contributed, as we've been saying. But I just wanted to recognize each of you, in particular the chairs, for the hard work. And Andrea, I know this may be the end of, or at least temporary end for this group, but there's probably still some things we can connect on if you'd be kind enough to work me into the calendar, and we'll have a conversation to see what else I can help with. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Outstanding. Very, very nice of you, John. Thank you. Well, let me, John, maybe lean on you again, and Stina, as we're trying to get this information out to the public, and certainly to the business community where you both are focused. Do you have some ideas and recommendations that maybe you can both provide that may be helpful to other chambers and working groups as well, as to how we can push this out to make sure that the community is enjoying the benefit of all of this information? John, do you want to comment on that first, and then maybe Stina?
Fair enough. So obviously we have our platform at the chamber, so all of our social media channels, our website, and our e-newsletter that goes out to our membership. So obviously we'll incorporate that. I know Kissimmee Osceola County is in my organization's name, but half of my board of directors comes from Orange County. Obviously represent a lot of businesses, and as does Stina. There's probably overlap for sure. And so this does reach into Orlando, so it will have an impact, and it is appropriate for us to do that. And we have been doing that, but obviously as we continue to work this living document, we'll continue to distribute it to our membership. And I also sit on a working group called the Ready to Work group in Osceola County. And they've been meeting weekly on Fridays and discussing how we'll open up Osceola County businesses and sharing information through that. So we're going to have an Open Safely campaign that we're going to launch this coming Wednesday in partnership with both the City of Kissimmee, City of St. Cloud, and Osceola County. And so between those sovereign governments and all of our partners, we'll get it vastly distributed where appropriate on those channels as well. And anything else that I can help with, whether it be opening a door, making a connection, or putting some pressure on someone to support us, whatever is appropriate, I'm happy to help. And Stina may present some additional ideas that stir my thinking or that I can support. But that's kind of my initial thinking on the fly here.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Stina, can you comment on that?
John's absolutely right. We all pretty much as chambers have very similar means of communication, our websites, our social media, our e-newsletters, and we'll encourage all of our members, once we send out the final product of the Recovery Task Force, we'll encourage them to send to businesses that may not be chamber members, because we have our own network. And just as we've been encouraging non-chamber members to join our webinars, we want to make sure that those businesses get that information out. So we'll make sure, of course, that our local papers, which have been wonderful in getting the information out, continue to do that as well. So I think we have the means to do it, but lots of organizations have to be plugged in, and they have to be sharing, because, our members have their own resource group as well. So we'll just make sure that everything that we get from the county just continues to get out to everybody. And
again, our focus is Orange County, but Stina and I are on the statewide board of Florida Association of Chamber Professionals. Stina is a past chair, in fact, and I co-authored a letter with some of my partners in Osceola County to encourage the governor to reopen vacation rentals, and that's a hot topic in many parts of the state, including the Panhandle. And so shared that letter for the benefit of other chambers to copy, and I know that our efforts here in Orange County have been a model for many areas, even beyond state borders. And I think a public comment from outside the state of Florida last full task force meeting alluded to the leadership this has generated. So it might even be appropriate, Stina, for us to share at FACP and let other chambers kind of follow that and be aware of the efforts. And certainly anybody with a presence in Orange County that sees that then is more aware as well. And
I know that Krista has scheduled a regional meeting, because our Vice President, Krista Carter, is the regional chair for Central Florida. So that can definitely be discussed at that point as well.
And then another forum, Stina, that you've set up, as you mentioned earlier, is the what are you calling it?
Call, listen, and learn. Call, listen, and learn. Right. At 2 p.m. It's set up through a WebEx virtual meeting, and we know we within minutes of us sending out that invite yesterday, we had, I think, over like 30 RSVPs within minutes. So I know it's going to be a very hot topic because you and Betsy are on there.
I'm looking forward to working with you and Betsy both. Thank you for including me on that. Okay, any other comments from our working group members?
Madam Chairwoman, there's a comment from Conrad Santiago.
Okay, Conrad.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention I've been working closely with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Prospera, and both of them have been very proactive at disseminating all the information that we are communicating out there, and being very proactive and very much involved with this effort. So I just wanted to let you know that they're being very, very active with all this.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing.
Chairwoman, if I could just jump into something Conrad mentioned. I know, Conrad, maybe you could speak a bit to the group. I understand from Gabby with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that there is a business survey for Hispanic owned businesses that she and the chamber have underway. Have you had a chance to fill that out, or are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of it. Let me see if I'm on mute. Yeah, sorry. Yes, I am aware of it, and I haven't been able to fill it out, but it's been going on, and they've been sending notifications ongoing for the last few days. I know that they're receiving responses back. I don't really know the final outcome of it yet, though.
I think it's due today, so I think everybody has a chance, and I'll make sure I spread that link out to all of our, friends and folks that are interfacing with a variety of companies. And I think some of you on here even would obviously be eligible to please consider and fill that out, because that gives all of our, especially state bodies, governing bodies, an opportunity to understand what's going on with our companies.
Okay, are you wanting the chamber, you're saying, Andrea, you want the chambers to share that information with you, Stina? Is that something you can share then with Andrea, the results of this, once you have that completed, your survey completed?
We could, the West Orange Chamber survey, we could absolutely share those results. We've sent out about 3 since this all started. We can see
3 different surveys, right?
3 different surveys, yeah. All of them always asking the question about the EIDL and the PPP. But we can try to even combine all the results and get that over to Andrea just for information's sake.
In the event it would be helpful. All right, thank you. Any other comments from the working group members?
Madam Chair, I have just a brief comment for Andrea, if you'll allow. Andrea, I think we wanted to give Carrie Mathis an opportunity maybe to make some final comments on the PPE distribution, I believe. Do I recall that accurately, Andrea?
So I think it's complementary to that, right? I think it's the issue of adding a trusted PPE vendors resource, which, I can answer that before putting Carrie out there. We're working with her team, our emergency support function around procurement, and our health services department and our county attorneys to make sure that we can legally do that, just because the county really can't endorse, in certain reasons, in certain ways. So we're trying to see how to get that information best out to everybody. So just be patient with us as we add that potentially to this page. But I did want to just let Carrie chime in. I know, Carrie, there were a few vendors we were looking at in terms of especially the hand sanitizer dispenser equipment, because I know several members here had provided some trusted vendors who, were local or had no volume issues. So I don't know if you just want to chime in, if maybe your team had a chance to look at those or has any feedback.
Sure, and good afternoon, everyone. Sorry if it's loud in this room. I'm in the Emergency Operations Center. We have received multiple sources, potential sources for those portable hand sanitizing stations. We have routed those over to our facility management folks to take a look at and see if it's something that they would consider as a viable solution to the public buildings need. And so we're awaiting some more feedback from them. Additionally, I did share it with our convention center folks also for them to take a look at to see if that's something that could be possibly sufficient for their use. I have been made aware that there are some vendors that are requiring minimum numbers of units to be purchased, so that could potentially be a hurdle that we'd have to overcome depending on the building. But those sources are currently under evaluation with the respective facility folks to see if it's something they want to pursue for ordering.
Excellent. Carrie, thank you so much for everything that you've done with all of this procurement. So you're going beyond the masks and the sanitizer. You're looking at the dispensers. We talked about the wipes too, disinfectant wipes. Was that anything that you had any chance to look into?
The wipes have been probably, between wipes and impervious gowns, those are the two most challenging items that we've had to try to source. We're starting to see a little bit more movement coming back into the marketplace with wipes, but not significant, and they're still quite costly for us. But in terms of those other units of hand sanitizers and masks, there's an abundance of sources out there that can provide those very timely. And we're seeing the supply go up, and we're seeing the pricing go down, which is a really great thing.
Excellent. Thank you.
Chairwoman, there's a question from Pam Neighbors.
Okay.
Pam. I was just going to say, didn't we have a speaker last week? I apologize for not remembering all the names of the businesses who had mentioned. I asked the question about wipes, and I think it was like last Wednesday. That supplying wipes, they weren't regular Clorox or Lysol wipes, but they were the kind that the hospitals use. And, maybe we could find the notes from that vendor and get that to Carrie, because I think he had indicated that he could get those. And I know that I'm hearing that from my own business, as well as from, other businesses that I talk to, that is a real challenge. Or maybe there's alternatives to having wipes. Maybe there's another way with a disinfectant spray and paper towels that the same thing can be achieved.
I'll circle back with Carrie. It is this disaster management group that presented. So they actually reached out to their partner, Southern Strategy Group, did, Carrie. So I'll reach out to you about that.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate that information, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Thanks for bringing it up, Pam, reminding us.
And another for as a resource for some of this equipment that's needed, and for the suppliers and vendors. Certainly, again, with the chambers here, going back to the chambers, I do happen to know, Stina, you have you opened a web page on your website indicating different member businesses that offer services. We've talked about businesses that have pivoted to offer some of these things. For instance, you have a seamstress and she was making cloth masks. You had a soap company who's now making sanitizer. That type. Andrea, to the extent that we can at least mention, check with your local chambers for, local businesses, supporting local businesses that may be offering some of this, this equipment and supplies that are needed. That would be a very good resource and a good outcome to support locally. Any other comments from the group? Andrea, what else do you need from us at this point to finalize this document?
I think we're really good. The two areas that I had covered are really the two areas that are still missing. One is on our side. One is, I'd appreciate Chris especially. And then I'll call you, John. Sorry about not being able to call back yesterday. And then, I think the next thing just to share, I know there was a couple questions about checklists. So I just want to give, again, recognition to another group here, which is our, which you've never, unfortunately, gotten a chance to meet or see at our meetings, and that is our training department inside of our human resources team. They actually put together, I don't know if because I'm on the county Wi-Fi, if y'all will be able to see this, but they've basically delivered a number of additional resources. Let's see. Looks like I won't be able to share it. But they've given us some pretty incredible resources, actually, of posters and videos and how to train, build your own training if you'd like, and a number of great resources.
Excellent.
So I think, part of why I asked, especially for Stina to be here and John, is if you think as chambers it would be helpful to kit posters and things that people could place. I know Mike had come up with this idea in particular, Mike Vandebeel. If, we had some kits ready to go for your businesses, especially the smaller ones, where they could just get ready in the, in the break room or provide that kind of information on the most generic of guidance. So I just wanted to bring that out there. Karen Willis had provided us for all the child care facilities, and there will be several that are opening or feel more comfortable. There's going to be brand new home-based child care services. Her Early Learning Coalition in particular provided a number of ready-to-go printable training materials. So there's a lot of good, powerful things that came in the last few days that will directly benefit companies and will help them sustain safe operations.
If I can comment to that real quick, if you're talking about a tangible product, we have reduced operations, and as Stina alluded to, we have a set membership that is our primary communication. So I think a better contact would be the tax collector, where each business has to be licensed. And even though they're probably virtual too, we'll definitely be a partner, but I don't want it to just sit on my countertop because no one's coming into the chamber because, we've got reduced operations or we're all working from a virtual platform. So I don't know if that makes sense. I
meant to say this would be virtual kits. So, they just download PDF. It's actually already in here. It's just not in one easy place. Right now we've gotten in hodgepodge. So that's why we were thinking business can go, because they're a restaurant, they go right to the restaurant part predominantly. But if we could do something, just throwing out ideas, but it would all be virtual. It's up to somebody to print out or to email to their employees, whatever the case may be.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Andrea and John. Do we, of course, it's after 12:30. Let me turn this back over to you, Mr. Chairman. Is there something more that we need to do today before we finalize this, our last meeting? And again, I want to just, say thank you so much to all the working group members. It has been such a pleasure to participate in this group. And certainly my thanks to Andrea and Lucas and all the Orange County staff that has made this happen for us. So, Mr. Chairman, do you want to take it from here, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, very much. In closing our final meeting, I'd first like to congratulate the entire working group. Every one of you is a very accomplished professional in your own industry, and the outputs that we have yielded, your Madam Chairwoman just led you through the living document that will be a major part of the resources that we deliver to the task force and to the community. Of course, this working group, Business Readiness, was helped to originate and was a strong force for the PPE distribution that Orange County Director of Procurement, Carrie Mathis, led our county through, that benefited so many small businesses and medium-sized businesses. I believe at last update, 1.2 million masks anticipated to be distributed this week, and over 200,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, as well as the very significant human resource training materials and retraining that will live on our website as our work concludes. On a personal note, I knew some of you before this working group was convened, not all of you. I just want to say how much I enjoyed working with each of you and getting to know you, though virtually and obviously in compliance with Florida Sunshine Law. So I didn't and wasn't able to speak to you outside of our actual work, but it has been a real pleasure to be your colleague. I want to especially thank my co-chair, Deborah Linden, who really, really worked very hard. And I know that only through my interactions with county staff and her significant thinking on the purposes of this work group and how we might organize ourselves. And really can't say enough thank you for all of your hard work, Deborah, very, very much. I would also like to thank the hardworking professionals of Orange County government very much. In some cases, front of mind to us, in some cases, behind the scenes. Obviously, we spent a lot of time with Andrea Wesser-Bronner, who is the Chief Innovation and Emerging Technologies Officer for Orange County when she's not serving as our staff lead. And I would encourage all of us to talk to Andrea when you have a spare moment and just watch her face light up when she can talk about the innovations that are coming to Orange County here in the very near future. It is amazing stuff. Talk to her about that when you have a moment. I'd also like to thank Carrie Mathis, Orange County Director of Procurement. Carrie's been on every call. We've had a collaboration and partnership between our communities, between the government and the private sector and the nonprofit spheres, including our faith-based organizations, and the good work that we can do together when called upon to meet the challenges of the day. We especially thank Mayor Jerry Demings for his leadership in convening the task force and for this working group and leading our community through the challenges of COVID-19, a global pandemic. And with that, this final meeting of the Business Readiness Working Group stands adjourned. Thank you all so much. I'll see you next Thursday. Nice work, everyone.